Hi, I'm Bill Ballard. I'm Bill Ballard. We have all heard it. And indeed, he was Bill Ballard. It was almost a larger-than-life persona, a brand name. He was a golfer. He was a fraternity president. He was a father, a husband. He was a storyteller, a raconteur. He was many, many wonderful, wonderful things. And when he was in a room, you felt it. As my brother John said, even at the very end of his life, there he was in the home, even though he had dementia, entertaining everybody, the life of the party, the center of attention. That was my father. God bless him for it. But something more about my father that you may or may not know. My father was a real hard charger, as you undoubtedly know. And my father was very driven, very intense. Now, 8 years ago, my father got deathly ill. My brother, my mother, and myself helped will him back to life. John basically got a bed there and camped out. It was wonderful. What my father said to me after that was, there's family, there are friends, and everything else is BS. And hearing that from my father, I thought for sure he had lost his mind. Because that's not something you expected to hear from Dad, this kind of sentimentality. But that's what he said. And you know what? He meant it. And he lived it. And he cared deeply, 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 deeply for each and every one of you. He was so grateful to you, Lennon and Howard, for all the times you had him over, the family over at the house, and for taking him to Hawaii. And he loved you guys deeply. Paul, he's so handsome and charming. What a great guy that is. He's just the greatest. He adored you. He loved you. He really did. Richie, he called you the kid even when he was 82 years old. He adored you, Rich. And he felt guilty. I'll tell you, say that in front of him and in front of God. He said, I didn't always treat him well, but damn it, I love him. He's a great guy. He's a great kid. I said, damn it. Exactly a kid. He's always be a kid to me. And Layla, he adored you. That Layla, what a wonderful woman. What she did for my brother is just astounding. She is the best wife there could ever possibly be. He got so lucky. And you, Jonathan, he loved you. Jonathan, so charming, so smart, so wonderful. He had a special heart. He had a special place. He had a special, you and Ellen, wherever Ellen went, all had a special, very dear place in his heart. He really deeply loved you. Elizabeth, he loved you. He did. He said, that Elizabeth is so smart. That Elizabeth is so good for John. She is such a wonderful wife and one hell of a cook. My God, that was it chicken cacciatore? Is that what the famous dish? The famous dish? I want chicken parmesan. I want some. But that's what he said. He adored you. He said, she's so good for John, my son, and that makes me so happy. Robin, he absolutely loved you too. He said, you couldn't have done better, Mark. You found the perfect, wonderful, wonderful woman. And I did. And I love you. And he was so happy and grateful and so joyous to have these little guys in his life. Jacob, he loved you. Papa Bill loved you so much. And Brandon, Papa Bill loved you so much. Every time he would see you, his face would light up. And he felt so, 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 so happy. And so I know right now in heaven, he's looking at you. Brother John, Dad loved you so, so much. Dad used to tell me, you know, if it wasn't for you and John, I wouldn't be here. Your brother fought for my life, and I would put my hands gladly with you and John. And you know what? John did it again. My dad may have died, but John was at that hospital every day, sitting vigil. Thank you for that. That was wonderful. So Dad knows that you were there for him, and he loved you deeply. And he always used to say things. John is such a smart, wonderful son. He got into the University of Pennsylvania. I'm so proud of him. He's just so joyous. He's a little serious sometimes, but I love him so much. He's just such a great little guy. His dad's not so little. He's in his late 30s. Yeah, he's not little. He's always going to be the little guy to me, just like you are. And he loved you deeply, and he knew at the very end that you were there, and it meant everything to him. And you helped ease the transition. And everyone should be indebted to you for that, so thank you. He loved you. At the very end of his life, when the dementia kicked in and he started saying things and he became super nice, he started saying things to me. Your mother is the greatest woman I've ever met in my life. And I thought, okay, that's really sweet and wonderful. Why, Dad? Why are you saying that? Your mother is taking such good care of me. Your mother is such a sensitive woman, such an incredible writer, such a talented, talented person, great therapist, a great friend, a great human being, a great mother. And I love her so much. And in fact, he did. So much. My father, as some of you may know, was not exactly the most liberal with his money. He liked to kind of keep it to himself. But when my mom turned 50, was that a couple years ago we had that party? When my mom turned 50, we had a giant blowout party at Chase's. And I was looking at the pictures the other day. I don't know why I had them. And you were so happy and elated. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful tribute to you. And he really did deeply love you. And the way we know it's true is when you have dementia and Alzheimer's disease, you can't really remember what you're saying. And he would just say it over and over and over again. John will attest to that too. When we were with him, he just said it over and over and over again. Along with John, my dad was my best friend. And although things were not always easy, let me tell you, it's not easy being his son. Until you're in your 20s. The last 25 years of his life, it was just a beautiful, beautiful, loving experience. And we became super, super, super close. And I have all sorts of memories with him, but just to give you an idea of the kind of person he was, he would, when I graduated from college and I was unemployed and then I got a job as a bank teller, see, if you send your kids to Berkeley, they can be bank tellers too. He would drive me every single day out into the valley. If any of you know California, Southern California, that is a real trek. Pick me up, take me, pick me up, take me. Without a complaint. He just did it. And he was that kind of person. Whatever it took for his family, he did it. And he was always there for me. He was my confidant. Even when he had the Alzheimer's disease, I would talk to him about stuff. I'm serious. You're laughing. It's true. And he would give me this amazing, amazing advice. He was very, very, very clear-headed. And he was very, very, very loving. And I'm absolutely stunned that he's gone. Stunned that he's gone. When these guys were up there taking care of him, and I was down there sick for much of that time, I was getting these reports that he was getting better, getting better, getting better, getting better. As a matter of fact, we were going to have Dad over, all of you over for Thanksgiving. That's where my mind was. And then John called me and said, you better get your backside up here immediately. And I did. And the wonderful thing about all of this is, if I can share this with you, if you'll indulge me, is I had the chance to say goodbye to him. I mean, certainly would have been better to spend more time with him. But I got the chance to say goodbye to him one-on-one. And I told him, I looked him in the eye, and I said, Dad, I love you. You're my best friend. You're a great person. John, Amy, and myself are your legacy. Brandon and Jacob are your legacy. Bradley and Brittany, all of you are your legacy. We are your legacy, Dad. All the values that you imbued us with, all the character that you built up in us, it will live on. It is living on, Dad. And it was a very strange soliloquy. It just came out of me. Because I was debating, do I say goodbye to him and let him know that I know he's dying, or do I just say, Dad, you look great? And it just poured out of me. And he had a ventilator on, and he couldn't talk. And my dad started to cry. And I started to cry. And I knew that he knew the end was near. And I knew that he knew that we would carry on those values, and that Bill Ballin lives in all of us. Bill Ballin lives in all of us right this minute. And the fact that we're here is the biggest tribute he can have. If he were up there, yeah, he's up there right now, looking down, smiling. And I really feel blessed that I had those 3 minutes where he was lucid. I got to say goodbye to him. And John and Amy had it the following day. They were holding his hand and he told them he loved you, right? Is that correct? So thank God we all had that. I feel blessed to have had him as my father. And I feel blessed to have all of you in my life. I really do. I love each and every one of you. Even if sometimes we fight and don't talk to each other, I love each and every one of you. And Bill Ballin brought us together, and hopefully Bill Ballin can help us stay together.